On today's episode of The Front Row, we are at the Silent Wings Museum out on Interstate 27, one of the big cultural institutions of our community. And joining me is Sharon McCullar, who is the curator of the Silent Wings Museum, and Tanis Blount, who is the education coordinator. Thank you both very, very much for taking time to be with me today.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Great.
Thank you for being with us.
Well, this is a big time for the Silent Wings Museum. It's sort of you have a big crunch coming up with D-Day and a lot of summer activities and a brand new exhibit, and I hope we can get through all of that today. Gracious. Sharon, just tell us a little bit, D-Day's coming up, your anniversary program that you do. Tell us about it.
It is our annual commemoration of the operation that was the overarching invasion of Normandy, and of course we concentrate on the glider pilots who flew those 512 CG-4A gliders into behind enemy lines that day and the day after. But our commemoration concentrates on the courage of those folks, the planning that went into it, and how that major invasion was accomplished with the help of CG-4A gliders and glider pilots.
And that's why we're the Silent Wings Museum, is because it was gliders.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. Excellent. So what do you have planned for the D-Day commemoration?
Well, like usual, we'll open with the national anthem and the reading of Eisenhower's address to the troops. And then we have a curated experience through the museum talking about and highlighting different moments for the glider pilots and different ways tying into our newest exhibit that toys and games helped our glider pilots as well. And then we also will have living history participants doing live demonstrations throughout the day, as well as a fun family trivia game that afternoon, and family games and food trucks all day, as well as the Southern Cross.
Yes, the C-47 is the Southern Cross from Greatest Generation Aircraft out of Fort Worth. And weather permitting and mechanical stuff permitting, they should be selling rides on that C-47 as a kind of a highlight to our event. If nothing else, they'll be on static display most of the day, so folks can have a look inside what was our main tow aircraft.
And that's along with the other vintage aircraft that will be out on the airfield for people to see that day as well. So
wow, how exciting.
It really is. It's a super busy weekend, but there's so much history here that weekend that people can interact with. You know, I think a lot of times when people think about coming to the museum, they're thinking about reading. And this weekend is an experience. And so it's experience for every age group. You know, our 4s and 5s enjoy it as much as their grandparents do. And so it's a really great way, especially to introduce this younger generation to the ideals of the Greatest Generation, as well as to the invasion of Normandy, to that important operation, and the way that not just the glider pilots participated in that, but the way the U.S. troops participated as well.
Wow. So. Well, what time should I show up if I want to come and be a part?
The doors will be open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. both days, Saturday, June 7th and Sunday, June 8th. The aircraft should be here most of that time. Sometimes the light aircraft have to bug out, Sunday afternoon in order to make it back home before dark. But we have activities planned nearly every hour. There's something happening that someone, I guess, could participate in or observe happening. So between 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., it's going to be a very busy couple of days here at the museum.
Sounds like it. Well, I know that it's a big thing. A lot of people enjoy coming to that, and it's good to know that that's happening yet again one more time this year.
Right.
Yeah. So you mentioned a moment ago, Tanis, a new exhibit. What is going on here at the Silent Wings Museum?
Sharon, go right ahead.
The newest featured exhibit, which runs from June of this year through April of next year, is called In the Game Together, Toys for a Nation at War. And it's toys and games from the collection of the Silent Wings Museum that were collected to illustrate the home front values and the home front for those glider pilots and their families. And so in this exhibit, we've selected some toys and games and things that illustrate either how materials had changed during World War II and how play was affected by that, and how the children or little brothers and sisters of our glider pilots were affected by those wartime strictures. and also how those toys and games were being used to inculcate the values that were needed for a home front wartime mindset and a wartime footing for those families of those glider pilots. So a lot of the exhibit materials point out certain elements of the game, certain elements of the graphics, or even the gameplay itself that helps our families on the home front support what our glider pilots are doing in the theater of operations. So we've carefully selected some toys and games and materials that speak to some of those values they were trying to assimilate into their worldview, and some of those skill sets that those glider pilots were needing to learn themselves from toys and games.
All right. Well, if it's toys and games, does that mean it's family friendly?
Oh, yes, 100%. In fact, throughout the rest of the year, starting at the end of June, we'll be having different days where families can come out together in the afternoon, and included in their admission is time to play these games, to learn how to do that together, to compare them with their counterparts today. We're super excited about really talking about and calling attention to the way we learn and train our brains from playing games, from the way we play. Because the government is very aware. And you can see that in the different games that we see coming out of World War II. Bomb the Axis is going to become Battleship. What am I teaching? I'm teaching you strategy. I'm teaching you process of elimination, right? We're discovering how to read the other player across from us, how with several of our games, the backs of the cards are teaching me how to spot enemy aircraft. What kind of aircraft do I need to be worried about? Just the different ways that we inculcate, to use Sharon's word, and indoctrinate our brains to recognize things that are important for us to understand. And so we're actually this summer going to be partnering with the Office of Emergency Management for our summer camps. So our mini camp Mondays that we've talked about before, every Monday through the summer will be focused on some kind of game that we have and play that we've been talking about in this exhibit. So children are going to come and they're going to learn how to play that, and we're going to create our own games, and we're going to compare and contrast from these older games to the way we play today. Sea Raider from the 1940s is going to morph into games similar to Pac-Man. And why would the skills that we learn in that game still be important to us? Why are those brain thought patterns important to us? What do they teach us? And not just that, but like with the OEM coming in, how can we learn about something in a fun way that could be really scary? So the Office of Emergency Management is going to bring each camp day will bring out a different game talking about how to be prepared in an emergency. But the children are going to be playing, and we're going to be having fun and laughing, so that hopefully, should they ever end up in an emergency situation like a tornado, which is common in our area, well, I remember because I had fun and I was laughing and we were enjoying ourselves. We learn so much more when we're having a pleasant time than when it's, you have to know this. And so we're just really excited about the way that partners with the exhibit and partners with our community and helping our community be prepared.
Right.
There are some, there are some questions that kind of run through the exhibit, some kind of prompts that run through the exhibit itself about how do you think we learn from play? Is it easier to learn from play? Do adults learn from play? And so some of the games that we have on exhibit, we've replicated, scanned the elements and scanned cards and things like that, so that the person that sees that game and maybe is thinking about, well, right, I could learn something from this game, they can go sit down in one of the programs and play a replica of that game or a faithful representation of that game, and maybe think about some of those question prompts that run throughout the exhibit. Yes, they are learning from play. Yes, that can help you to process a difficult situation if it's a gameplay situation. So we're hoping to kind of bring in that higher level thinking about World War II games and how how they were learning from them through this exhibit this year.
Good. I want to come back to the camps in just a moment, but before we do that, let me ask one question about the exhibit. These games, were these products that were available off the shelf, or were these devised by the military specifically for the things you're talking about?
Most of the games that we featured in the exhibit are off the shelf. They could buy them in a toy store.
Right.
There are a couple different, you'll have to come to the D-Day moments to learn about one of them, but there are a couple things that were remanufactured or redesigned slightly for wartime use, for use during combat operations. But most of what we've got here are something that a child in the 1940s would have been familiar with, in terms of it probably was pretty precious to them. Tiny metal tin stamped toy rather than a large toy, something made out of wood instead of metal, something made out of paper instead of more precious material. So there's something the World War II generation children would be familiar with, but in a slightly different take during World War II. Right.
Well, when does the exhibit, is it currently open?
It is. It's actually open now because we got it installed on Monday. It officially starts on June 1st, but it is available. Today is the May 22nd. So it's actually ready to go. Try to be ready a week before our real opening date, and it will close April 30th of next year. Okay. So they'll have plenty of opportunities if they don't come out during a big event day, plenty of opportunities to come out and really kind of delve into what the meaning of those toys are.
Okay, great. Sounds wonderful. Tanis, let me come back to the camps. So for kids who are interested in that, tell us a little bit, what are the camps? When do they occur? How can people enroll?
Awesome. Well, we do a series of mini Camp Mondays. So throughout the summer, starting on June 16th this year, ending in July 28th, we do a 3-hour camp on Monday mornings here at the museum. That's normally a day we're closed, and so the children and I get the opportunity to have the museum to ourselves and really get to explore it and have experiences in it. And so those Mondays, each Monday is actually a different game, a different topic, and targeted towards a little bit different age group. We're starting with 6-year-olds and going all the way through 12-year-olds. But obviously, I'm not going to teach chess to our 6-year-olds. And so each day has its own specific age group. We're going to have that all up. Actually, we currently have that on our website, silentwingsmuseum.com. And in the education space, you can look at all of them. And then you simply call me at 806-775-3059. That's what happens when you only use an extension. But you call me and we get you all set up. We do require the registration fee up front because we are a small museum, and so we take a limited number of children each year. This year, we have deviated from our aviation camp into the toys, and we're super excited about the way that is going to open up camp for some different children who are interested in other things, and for the opportunity to teach some really neat things. As a veteran teacher, the high-level thinking, critical thinking skills are always on my watch list. How do we incorporate that? How do we encourage our children to use those skills and train them to use them? And so this is a really exciting camp for us because it is talking about all the things that I absolutely love and think are super important, and we get to do it in such a fun way.
Right.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun writing the exhibit because I was writing to what I knew Tanis wanted to teach in the program. Right. So I wrote it more as how do we learn from this toy or game, not necessarily the World War II connection, but the learning connection. And I enjoyed writing to that this year and tying it back to our glider pilots and their families a little bit.
That's wonderful. So camps, new exhibit, D-Day. That's, I guess D-Day is the first thing up. Tell us
Yes.
once more time, date, and place.
Saturday, June 7th, and Sunday, June 8th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. both days. We'll have a schedule of events, I think, on our website, but as you come in the door, there's a schedule of events, so you'll see what is the next thing that's coming up. We should have those vintage aircraft both days, pretty much all day.
Weather
and our
permitting.
Weather permitting, and like mechanical situations permitting. And our living history participants will be here both days, and we'll have that D-Day Moments guided experience and activities and things going on pretty much at different times all day, both days.
Sounds wonderful. Tanis Blount, Education Coordinator, and Sharon McCullar, Curator of the Silent Wings Museum. Thank you so much for being our guests on the front row today.
Thank you.
Thank you.